Welcome to the Defense and Aerospace Report. I'm Vago Muradian here at the Air Force Association's annual Airspace and Cyber Conference and Trade Show just outside Washington, D.C., the U.S. Air Force's #1 gathering of its leaders from around the world to talk about the service's future and its strategy and budgets and technology. Our coverage here this year is sponsored by Elbit Systems of America, L3 Technologies, and Leonardo DRS. And we're positively honored to have with us General Sevy Wilson, who is the Vice Chief of the United States Air Force. Sir, congratulations on what's been a pretty newsworthy conference so far.
Yeah, it's been a fantastic conference. Anytime you can get 1,000, 11,000 people here, our second largest conference, I think, ever, together with industry and academia and all the people, it makes for a great conference.
It's tremendous also in terms of the news, the Secretary announcing the plan for 386 squadrons, the Vice Chief's Innovation Challenge, obviously the Chief talking about return to great power competition, and of course discussing multi-domain command and control and multi-domain battle. I want to start with innovation, right? That's one of your charges. You have your Innovation Challenge. Talk to us about the approach to innovation, right? I mean, everybody's like, hey, let all these flowers bloom, but at the end of the day, resources are finite. And you want to make sure that you're placing the right bets. Talk to us a little bit about the filters, the sieves you're going to put some of these great ideas that are coming up from all over the force. You know, we've seen that happen through AFWERX. It was really amazing seeing it at the Air Warfare Symposium earlier this year that AFA sponsors down in Florida in the winter. Talk to us a little bit about your philosophy to get innovation, but make sure it's the right innovation, an innovation that doesn't necessarily turn its back on all of the things that you're doing that are record programs that are necessary and should stay on track.
Yeah. So let's take exactly what you described. So what we're going to hopefully do with the Vice Chief Challenge is be able to go out to our Air Force and focus our airmen efforts on multi-domain operations. So there's the challenge. Now let's open it up to our airmen to crowdsource. But rather than just, crowdsource, that's good because I'm going to get a whole bunch of ideas. We'll run it through an ideation platform. We'll get our AFWERX guys worth looking at it. And then we're going to kind of refine that and scope that challenge and problem set even further. And then working with AFWERX and CyberWorks, we'll have a small team and I'll be part of that. And we'll look at, okay, we think we've got the problem scoped just about right. How do we then continue down the next level and then say, okay, is this scoped and shaped right? And then how can I put the right resources behind it? Then we're going to get our contracting and our acquisition pros to say, how do I take what would have taken years to do in capability development and do it in months? So we're going to, I guess to use kind of what day one and Jeff Bezos will probably come talk about. We're going to plant a lot of seeds, but we got to be able to focus those efforts, scope them down, and then double down on those that grow. And that's what the Vice Chief Challenge is going to look at.
Do you know what are the big problems you need help with, right? I mean, everybody always says that, well, what's innovation? Well, what's the problem you have to solve? So what do you think the Air Force's biggest problems are where you need innovation to lead you down a better path?
Yeah. Let's talk with multi-domain operations is one of the areas. And so how do we give our adversaries dilemmas that they can't keep up with? Was kind of the theme of the Chief's speech. So let me focus on a couple things. Today, if I were to read what President Putin has said in Russia, he said, he who wins AI wins. You look at what China has said, President Xi has said, we will come out of China will be the dominant country in the world by 2030 with AI. So they know they're putting a lot of investment in. And so how do I take a hard problem set and how do I do what humans are good at and what machines are good at and do that on a pace and scale that our adversaries can't keep up with across all the different domains. To do that, I got to be able to understand the data. I got to be able to have the right algorithms. I got to have the right network. It's got to get to the cloud. It's got to also have the ecosystem that supports it, from the people and ideas and how do I tie all of that together. And so that'll be one of the big areas that we focus on, this multi-domain piece. But AI and big data and machine learning are going to be critical to that, because let's take an example today. If I were to go to an imagery analyst, we spend a lot of time training them and they would be good at their job. They might get it right 75% of the time. But an average computer could do 1,000 images at 99.5% accuracy right now. So use what machines are really good at and then team that with humans and what humans are really good at, and together be able to provide decision quality information to be able to orient, decide, and act faster than an adversary across all the different domains. So that's kind of the multi-domain ops challenge that we're going to have to be able to get after to successfully compete, deter, and win.
What are some of the other priorities you have for innovation? Because I want to go to big data in a second, and I want to talk also to you about AI and some of the challenges associated with man-machine teaming. But what are some of the other problems that you've got? Because, you know, I mean, the Air Force, the sheer spread of what the Air Force is involved in technologically, but also from a combat operations standpoint, or support operations even, are vast. What are some other problems that you'd like technology to solve, or innovation to solve?
Let me give you a couple easy ones, right? Just, you know, we have 670,000 airmen, active guard and reserve across our Air Force. A quarter of them are civilians. How do we understand the HR piece, the human resource piece, the talent management piece, and are we doing that as good as we possibly can? And I would say the answer is no. We know we can do better. So we're looking at how industry is doing it, but how do I use the data that I have on our people just to understand how to get in the right people in the right job at the right place at the right time? That's one of the areas we're looking at. How do we do it across our whole logistics infrastructure and supply chain? When you look at what's, we've done a couple little beta tests on a couple little platforms, for example, the B1, and we're able to do significantly increase in mission capable rates in the downtimes because we had the right equipment and the right part in the right place at the right time doing that. So if we can scale that across the Air Force, we're going to make some significant savings, and we got our A4 team looking at that. But I could go through every one of our, between ops, between intel, between logistics, between intel. Yeah, easy. I can go between ops and intel and infrastructure in terms of our infrastructure, and every one of those areas are ripe for innovation. And there may be small things, but I'll also tell you, our airmen, as I go meet with them, have these amazing ideas. And these small little ideas that just keep rippling up, and every day they show up to work and make it a little bit better. So it doesn't have to be something big and grandiose. It can be, what am I doing down at the squadron level to make my unit, my section better today? And that culture and mindset is one of the other things we're working on. And it starts with, I got to have everybody with a sense of urgency about solving problems. Then I got to build a team of believers from young to old that get it, right? But they not only do they know it's right, they got to believe it's right, right? We have to have a common vision that we all understand. And I got to remove barriers from their success, and people have to see success. Once they start seeing success, it just starts generating. And so we're getting back to our roots, what we used to do as airmen, right? And so this innovation front is going to kick it. It's going to be at every level, but really it's about our airmen.
How do you make sure, right? I've seen this happen often where airmen, sailors, soldiers, Marines, Coast Guardsmen, you know, have an idea, and they have that idea at the unit. And then, you know, even it comes to a reporter that says, hey, by the way, you know, they on that ship or in that squadron, that's what they're doing. And other guys go, wait a minute, you know, I didn't know about that. How do so what are you doing to make sure that those great ideas that might exist in, you know, whether it's at a forward operating base somewhere or it's at Seymour Johnson or anywhere else in the world, is getting up through the chain and people go like, holy cow, you know, here's a really simple thing that was, you know, that an E3 came up with, but hey, this is a game changer.
Yeah. So again, we just talked about in the room here a minute ago about this iron middle, the frozen middle. How do we get past this area that gets to the no? And we're trying to get to the yes.
You were talking, I think, Iron Major was the thing you were thinking of?
Iron Major and frozen middle. How do I get past that? You know, but there's a process and there's policy and there's people, good intention, but they're stopping the ideas from getting up. And so we've got to find a way to break through that and to get those ideas from the young airmen and to get to yes. And we see lots of examples of it. So I sat on a panel with a bunch of general officers with 12 great ideas, and we were going to down select to the 6 for the shark tank, right? So spark tank is what we actually called it.
Right.
But when we did that, at every level, somebody had a reason to get to know. Well, see, this is against this, and this is against this. And I sat back and I was like, dude, do you listen to what we just said? We're the problem, right? Right? We've got to let these ideas, all of these were good ideas. Why aren't we already doing these, right? So it starts with culture. And we've got to get back to empowering our people and letting them succeed. And they may fail, and that's okay, right? But we want to continue to fail forward and move forward and make it better.
You talked about AI. Let me ask you, I mean, you talked about the importance of AI. AI depends also on a lot of big data and how you feed that data into the system. And probably no organization in the world has more data than the U.S. Air Force that is very good at collecting data, and each of the military services. Talk to us a little bit about how you're going to wrap your arms around this big data challenge, because your data is in multiple formats. It's spread all over the planet. How do you tap this data to make sure that you turn it into actionable information?
Well, it starts with, we put somebody in charge of it. So we have a chief data officer for the United States Air Force. We didn't have one a year ago. We have one today. And then we asked them to develop a data strategy. And so to be able to do exactly what you said, because we have a lot of data. Lots of it's unstructured, lots of it's hidden, lots of it's dark. How do we then find the data, be able to understand the data and gain the insights from the data? And it's a huge problem to be able to do that. But we have to. Right, because we know other people are, and we know that that's we'll be able to win once we gain those insights. I think there's a number. I'll use one of our RPA systems uses something like 8 terabytes of data a day, right? And we have lots of those across the planet, right? So what are we able to use and learn from that data if it's structured properly? So I go back to this multi-domain operations, and how do I sense the world? How do I decide and act faster than our adversaries? That's going to be the realm of the future, because another example. Today there's a company called Planet Labs. Planet Labs has got satellites that orbit the Earth. They're called Doves. They weigh about 9 kilograms. There's hundreds of them, and you can take a picture of every spot on the planet every day today. What will that be in 10 years? There's people talking it'll be every spot on the planet every minute. Right? So I got to be able to understand that, and I got to be able to then to do something with that data. And so I got to build the ecosystem, as I talked about, the data, the algorithms, the network, the cloud, to the ecosystem that supports that. And then I got to be able to team that with the human with the right insights to gain the information, and I got to do it faster than our adversaries. And that's what they're doing. We know they're working it.
Vice Chief of Staff of the United States Air Force, General Sevey Wilson. Sir, it was an absolute pleasure. Look forward to talking to you again to plumb some of the tactical combat and just institutional challenges that go with AI and human-machine interface. But, sir, thanks very, very much. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Vago. Great talking to you.